Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Ray. I'm a small animal general practitioner, and we are going to go over today a food that was recommended to me to review from a subscriber. Thank you very much for recommending it. It's A Pup Above. We're going to be hopping over to their website here shortly, and we're going to be using my pet food scoring system to assign some rankings to this food so that you can then compare this food to other foods. If you are not familiar with that process, I do have a dedicated video explaining it, and it is also in detail in my workbook that I sell on my website, which will outline all the charts you need, all the calculations you need, and the step-by-step approach for evaluating pet foods for puppies, adults, and seniors. So you can check that out if you would like a workbook to explain the process to you and you want like a tangible something to follow along with. So we're gonna hop over to the website, which is apupabove.com. They've got a couple diets. They've got a Texas beef stew, they've got a pork, a turkey, a chicken, and a turducken. And for those of you that do not know what turducken is, it is turkey and duck. They are all fresh food diets, and so I know that is kind of the new thing. Everybody is leaning towards that. Is it better? Is it worse? I don't know. The jury's still out. But if it is something that you prefer, I do like to give you guys some options that may be sustainable and healthy, because a lot of the fresh food options, there are a lot of players jumping into the market, and a lot of it is marketing because they know people are interested in that, and so they're just hastily throwing together a diet, and the nutrition has been lacking in most of the ones that we have reviewed. So I am hoping A Pup Above is going to be a good option. I did briefly peruse it, and it did seem to be meeting a lot of the marks that I look for, so we're going to take a deeper dive today. So this is the Texas beef stew. It is 100% human grade ingredients. I know that is important to a lot of people. Non-GMO vegetables and 90% ranch raised beef. Picture of it here. Obviously, they always make it look absolutely yummy. But we're not going to be worried about all those marketing things. We are worried on this channel about the nutrition. And so we are going to be evaluating it using the parameters as outlined in Small Animal Clinical Nutrition. I did not make up these numbers. The numbers in my workbook are not made up. They come from that textbook. I have just put them in a really readable and beginner level format for you guys. So it says here, high protein. We're going to check the levels and make sure that it is high protein but still appropriate protein. I think that's an important concept that a lot of pet owners need to understand. More is not better. We want an appropriate high level protein. We do not want it to be so high that it has become deleterious. So let's hope that they're using that term correctly. It is a gently cooked food. That's important to note. It is not a raw diet. We do not review raw diets on this channel because of the significant public health and pet health implications that they hold. If you're interested in a raw diet, you need to consult your personal veterinarian so that they can counsel you on those very significant health risks. We will not be doing raw diets on this channel. And so that is that. It is savory beef bone broth, and it is kind of a stew appearance if that is something that your pet wants. I do like the extra moisture that they have in stews and wet foods. However, when you feed a stew and a wet food in a lot of these fresh food diets, you have to understand that the caloric density, the amount of calories you get per volume, is very low. That means your pet needs to eat a lot of this food to equal the same amount that they would get in kibble. And so if your pet normally gets, let's say, a cup of kibble and you are considering going to a fresh food, a lot of times you would have to feed and they would have to consume 3 times as much of the fresh food as they would a kibble. So that's going to factor into like your pet's actual ability to do that. It's going to factor into the amount of space you need to store that, and it's going to factor in cost because you are feeding something that's already more expensive and then you need to feed 3 times more of it. So that is an important thing to consider when you're doing these diets. I like to have people feed a food that is sustainable for them, because it does no good. And I get this question a lot. Well, can I just feed XYZ fresh food one day a week and then feed this kibble the other day a week? You can, but why are you doing that? If you really think, I mean, that's not doing anything, honestly. It's nice, again, going back to my workbook, it's nice again for like the bonding and stuff like that, but nutritionally you're not doing anything, just substituting one meal a day for fresh. If you truly think fresh is better, doing it once a week is honestly not doing anything. And there's question whether it does anything anyway. So can you do it? Yes, but that's an example of a non-sustainable feeding process if you're only able to do it once a week. Why why do it, really soul search on that and the reasons why you're doing that. Obviously, you can spend your money how you want to spend it, but from a nutritional standpoint, it's really not adding anything. And if you're doing that and you're changing the diet, you are potentially upsetting the GI tract and the microbiome and the flora that is there, because they're used to eating something 6 days a week, and then you're changing it up and you're giving the microbiota something else to have to deal with. So you are potentially upsetting that by doing it. So not for me. More appropriate if you want to use it as a topper, but you would have to do some calculations and remove that amount of caloric allotment from your pet's kibble, and then substitute it for that. You could potentially do that. All right, so let's get into the actual nutrition now that we've covered some of the basics of fresh food and the reasons why people do it. And why you may have found yourself on this video. Ingredients-wise, they've got the beef liver, russet potatoes, tomatoes, beef broth, carrots, green peas, safflower, turmeric, parsley, and they did add a nutrient mix. I'm not sure what APA nutrient mix is, but it probably has some vitamins and things in there that the diet was lacking that they needed to add in order to bring it up to snuff. You will notice that this is a grain-free diet that does have potatoes and green peas, which are legumes, and that can be an issue. Absolutely is an issue. I don't like grain-free diets because of some of the research that is being conducted on grain-free and the imbalance it causes in amino acids that is potentially resulting in dilated cardiomyopathy. Also, there is no reason to feed a grain-free diet. They could very easily have not done the potato thing and done some rice or some other grain, and they would have totally eliminated that concern. So there is that. So they are going to lose a point on my pet food scoring system for this diet being grain-free. And, for my patients, I would probably recommend they avoid it, but you can talk to your specific veterinarian about that. I do a lot of reading and a lot of research, and actually there's a conference coming up pretty soon, and I'm going to be seeing if there's any updated information. But as of right now, there are some serious concerns that grain-free diets may be contributing to heart disease. And I know the whole thing with, the FDA recanted that. All they said was there wasn't significant enough evidence for them to say one way or the other. They didn't say that it was, and they didn't say that there wasn't, and that was probably a little bit of a backstepping because they probably got some backlash from companies, and so they kind of were like, we're neutral, we're not saying either way. So that doesn't mean that it's not true. So I get that comment a lot, like, the FDA took it back. Well, they just kind of said we're neutral, basically. And you guys hash it out otherwise. So I do have a community post that lists all the current data on that, and again, I do try to keep up to speed on that, and I will keep you guys up to date. But as of right now, veterinary cardiologists are saying there's no benefit to feeding grain-free, but there is very much concern that it's going to cause some heart disease. So just don't do it. And so that is my recommendation until they change their recommendation. So they're going to lose a point there. So we are going to find, if we can, the AAFCO statement. And I did look on this channel or on this page earlier to see if it was readily available and visible, and it wasn't. And so I did a quick search, and this food, the AAFCO statement says that it is formulated, and it said it was formulated for adults. So they're going to get 1 point for it being formulated, and they're going to not get a point because they did not do feeding trials. I did read somewhere, I believe on this website, where it said they kind of did like their own feeding trials, but they did not do AAFCO feeding trials. And where did I see that? Oh no, okay, so it says that all of our recipes are thoughtfully formulated and reviewed by certified veterinary nutritionists. So you have to be careful with that term there. So certified veterinary nutritionist. That I'm not sure exactly what that means. I would have to email and ask them, for those of you that are interested in this kind of information. Certified veterinary nutritionist is not I don't know if that's the same as a board certified veterinary nutritionist. That's kind of a weird play on words there. You could email them and find that out. Balanced nutrition that meet AAFCO standards. And so, again, yes, they were formulated. I thought I had read somewhere that they did their own feeding trials, but that may have been from somewhere else, a different food I was researching that said that. So, again, we are going to be up to 2 points, 1 for being not raw and 1 for the AAFCO statement. And then we have 2 negative, 1 because it wasn't feeding trialed and 1 because of the grain-free situation. All right, moving into probably one of the most important aspects, and that is going to be the nutritional profile. You do need to click here where it says view full nutritional profile. You do not want to use these minimums and maximums. Again, if you're not familiar why we don't do that, you need to look at my workbook, or you need to watch some earlier videos or the foundationals playlist where we go over that. It's too much to go over in this video, but these are minimums and maximums. They're not absolute, and you can see here the numbers are very, very low because they are including this moisture content, which we do not want to do. We want to remove the moisture, that way we can compare all foods to each other. As I said earlier, this food is 1,461 kcal per kilogram, which is very low. It's about 3 times less calorically dense than your typical dry food. So what does that tell us? It tells us we're gonna have to feed 3 times as much of this food to meet caloric requirements as we would a dry kibble, which is fine if your pet can do that. But I do find a lot of dogs on these stretch diets, they do lose weight, and they lose weight very quickly because they just physically cannot consume the number of calories because of volume. You know, a smaller dog would have to, the volume just exceeds what the stomach can actually do. The dogs are full and they just don't want to eat it. So we do run into sometimes some issues with actually clinical underweightness. clinical underweightness I've seen with a lot of these fresh diets, so you do need to take that into consideration. So we're going to click the full nutritional profile, and I love it, and this is part of the reason why I was able to do this review, because I love it when they have these little worksheets here. You can see more of the ingredients there if you want to. This is an award-winning recipe. This I always think is funny. Like, what are these companies? Editor's Choice and The List 2025. It's like they could have totally made that up. So every time I see these little like seals, it's just like, I don't know, silly to me. All right, so here you have the guaranteed analysis, not using it. It's not something we're gonna use. The as-fed column. We are gonna use here this dry matter basis column, and you can see major differences there and why you should use the dry matter basis and not the as-fed. They're way different. Now we also have here the calories per ounce and the calories per patty. That's gonna become important when we check the feeding guide. And the feeding guide is another telltale that, and this is going to be adult food and not an all life stage food, because they're only giving you one set of feeding guides. They're not trying to give you a million different sets to try to accommodate all the life stages inappropriately. So we're going to be getting to that. Well, actually, let's just get to it now while we're here. So for your average 20-pound dog, it's saying they should get 12 ounces per day. So 12 ounces, I mean, you can imagine a lot of times if you've ever gone out to eat a steak or whatever, you know what 12 ounces kind of looks like. Could be a large volume for a 20-pound dog, depending on your pet's appetite and how much they physically can eat at once. You may have to spread it to multiple times per day. That's another option. Anyway, 12 ounces. It is 41 calories per ounce. Yeah, so that's appropriate. So yes, you would have to feed about 12 ounces. So they're going to get a point there. We're up to 3 points. I should be writing this down. Moving up to the not part of the pet food scoring system, but a lot of people ask me this, so I'm going to highlight it right here. The vitamin E 300 is pretty dang good. 400, 500 would be better, but 300 is pretty good. Most pet food companies that put vitamin E there just to meet the requirement, it's usually around 45, so they really bumped that up to 300, so I'm pretty happy about that. Skipping down to the minerals. Minerals are really important. I'm going to flash up. We're going to just take a pause here. I'm going to flash up the ranges that we are shooting for. This is the ideal range. The closer and closer and closer you get to this, the more nutritionally optimized a food is. So let's just take a minute to look at these and memorize them. And then let's get back to the minerals. So calcium and phosphorus at 0.95 and 0.84 dry matter basis is very good. And so they're going to get 2 points there, which is big, because a lot of companies cannot, or will not, or do not, or don't want to, or whatever the reason, get these minerals down to optimized levels. And A Pup Above has done that with their beef recipe. So we got 2 points for that. And then we're coming over here to the dry matter basis column to see our protein, fat, and fiber. It was high protein, and so we got 46.3 on that. That is going to be above the acceptable range, the optimized range. So there is really no maximum, as you can see here, protein minimum. There's no maximum that AAFCO sets really for protein, and so a company can just kind of blast that. And that's the thing, people look for high protein, so companies want to give the consumer what they want. And so here they've given it to you guys at 46.3%, and there's nothing inherently potentially deleterious to that, but it's not optimized because if you have a pet that is going to run into some renal disease as they age, and that renal disease can be undetectable until 75% kidney loss. If you're feeding this high protein diet, you could actually be exacerbating the problem. So I like to feed the optimized level of protein, which is going to cap out at 30 for the adult dog, and so they're going to lose a point there. Fat is also a bit high at 23.2. So again, we know what fat does. It can contribute to pancreatitis. It can contribute to obesity. I have another video that I'm working on about the farmer's dog, another fresh food that a lot of clients and a lot of people here on YouTube have been saying it's causing pancreatitis. The fat level can be an issue with that. So right here, we've got a little bit elevated fat at 23.2, and then we've got a little bit of an elevated fiber at 6.85. I don't get angry when the fiber's high. It can help with digestion. It can help with anal glands. It can help with, making your pet feel full if you need that. And so I don't get mad about the fiber being high. And that's an important thing about these analysis. Is this an analysis? Is this not a review? I'm just showing you where to look for the information. And then you can take this information, discuss it with your veterinarian so that they know, they know your pet specifically and what your needs are and what your pet's needs, and they can weigh the pluses and minuses. So a lot of people ask me, well, can't you just tell me what to feed my pet? No, because I don't know you and I don't know your pet. If you were my client and you come into my office, yeah, we're going to discuss that. But I don't, no, on the internet, I'm not going to tell you what to feed your pet. I'm going to give you the information, and then you need to take it to your veterinarian at your next appointment and decide. So overall, because we're losing points on the protein, the fat, and the fiber because they were out of range, we are losing a point because it was formulated, and we are losing a point because it is grain-free. This particular diet is only going to score a 5 out of 10. And that, you take that into consideration because the things that they're missing on maybe not be as important as them getting the calcium and phosphorus. If you have a pet where have a renal stone problem, kidney issue, breed specific that are prone to forming urinary stones and things like that, that calcium and phosphorus level may be more important to you. And so 5 out of 10 on the Pup Above Texas steak stew for dogs. Now, the next ones we're going to run through really quickly because you kind of get the gist here. And we don't want to be here for days. So we're going to move on to the chicken. Scrolling, we know, past all those things, we're just going to go straight to the nutritional information. We already know we need to click on the full nutrient profile to get that nice chart. We're going to run through the ingredient list: chicken, chicken liver, sweet potatoes, broth, rice, apple. So this is a grain inclusive diet, so we are happy about that. So they're already starting out better with their chicken. For getting 2 points, it's not raw, and it is grain inclusive. Looking at the guaranteed analysis, and we're just going to go in order here for the points. The protein is, again, going to be slightly high, so they're going to miss that, but they did stay on point with the fat, so they're going to get a point for the fat. And the fiber was slightly off, so they're not going to get a point for that. That's going to bring us up to 3 points. Calories per ounce, 39 calories per ounce, and again, they are recommending 12, so I think we're going to be okay there. Let's do the calculations. 39 times 12, 468. Again, if you don't know how to calculate that, you can watch my resting energy requirement video. You can check out my workbook. That's going to bring us up to 4 points. Now we are getting into the minerals. Calcium and phosphorus are going to be good. So we're going to get 2 points there, which is going to bring that up to a 6 out of 10. So we had deductions because it was formulated. We had a deduction because of the protein. And we had wait a minute. Wait, maybe is that a 7? Let me go back and count that really quick. let me get a pen. I was not prepared. I need my own scorecard. I have a scorecard in my workbook. I need to print myself some so that I have that for this purpose. Okay, so we had 1 because it was grain inclusive. We had 1 because it was not raw. We have 1 because it's the correct life stage. That's the one that I forgot. It is the correct life stage. This is going to be a 7. We had 1 for the fat. We had 1 for the feeding guide, and we had 2 for the minerals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I like this chicken above the beef. Again, 41.5% protein is excessive, but if you're checking your blood work regularly, and you're just not leaving it to chance that your dog stops eating and you find out that they have renal disease, then you're probably fine. So key to feeding a high protein is you have to do labs. You have to do labs. If you're going to feed a high protein diet, you have to do that. If you accept that responsibility, then you may add that point back. That's up to you. My pet food scoring system is just a illustration of a systematic approach. So you can alter that. Be like protein is okay if you do blood work or something like that. So 7 on the chicken. The chicka bow wow. Let's go to the next one, which is going to be the luau pork. Nutritional information, full nutrient panel. We got pork liver, sweet potato, green beans, pineapple, thyme, parsley. And so this is going to be a grain-free diet, so they're going to lose the point there. So they got 1 point for the correct life stage. Protein on this one is even higher, so I'm thinking the pork's not going to be my favorite. Oh, and it says right there, grain-free on the top. Okay. Pork's not going to be my favorite. Way too high. Way, 51%. That's like getting into cat numbers, to be quite honest. In this, I'm really, even if you do blood work, I don't know, that's pretty high protein. Fat at 19.5 is okay. The fiber is high, so they are going to get only 1 point for that. Feeding guide. And it's going to be interesting to see the minerals, because when the protein gets that high, a lot of times they can't check the minerals, because with protein comes excess minerals. So a lot of times that's the case. So it's going to be interesting when we get to that point. 12 ounces at 35 calories. So it's a little bit lower calories per ounce. So let's see, 35 times 12. Still good, 420. So you're going to get that point. So we've got a point because it was for adults. A point because it is not raw. We've got a point because it was appropriate fat. We've got a point for the feeding guide, so that's 4. And then in the minerals, we are over on the calcium, but we are okay on the phosphorus. So again, yeah, as the protein gets really, really high, it becomes increasingly difficult for companies to meter the calcium and phosphorus. So that's going to bring this particular one, the pork one, up to a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like, because we lost 1 on it being grain-free. We lost 2 on the original guaranteed analysis, minus 1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah, so I believe that brings that up to a 5. So pork not going to be our favorite. Chicken is still a winner and a good option. Let's get into the turkey. We get another poultry here, so another chance to impress me. Nutritional profile. So friendly grains, so we are going to get a point there. It is formulated for adults, so we are going to get a point there. Moving into the nutritional profile again, so their kind of thing is a high protein, high fat, and so they're going to lose all the points there on the first part of the guaranteed analysis. So chicken's still looking better. 43 kcals per ounce at 12 ounces. 516 edging up there, but it is good. And then the minerals, they're going to be okay in minerals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, another 5, but it's because of the fat and the protein. Now the fat, absolutely, dog with pancreatitis, prone to pancreatitis, breed that is specifically prone to pancreatitis. The extra fat may be an issue. The protein's high, not as high as the pork. So again, that kind of like that blood work rule may work there for you. I mean, there are ways you can plus and minus this. So, again, it's about picking what is appropriate for you and making an informed decision. If you make an informed decision and it is different than what I recommend, that is that's your decision. I do that every day. That's every day at my practice. I make recommendations and people either take them or they leave them. And so my recommendation is follow the optimized levels. But if for whatever reason in your particular situation, you understand the risks and the benefits and you choose one way or the other, that's your business. Now, this one is going to score, again, not as good as the chicken. And I think if you're looking for a fresh diet, the chicken may be where it's at. Now, there are a lot of people out there, and this is a side note and a side tangent. that for whatever reason feel their pet is allergic to chicken. That is a new thing. That is a new buzzword. That is a new whatever. I've even heard veterinarians say, well, maybe your pet's allergic to chicken, just throwing that out there. There is an actual way to diagnose a pet with a chicken allergy. And before you unnecessarily limit yourself, let's say we go through all these and the only one that is good or really good is a chicken, and you just for whatever reason assume your dog has a chicken allergy or it's become itchy and your vet just said, I don't know, maybe it's the chicken. Because a lot of vets get lazy and do that. You may be unnecessarily limiting yourself and excluding a perfectly good diet because of that laissez-faire approach to food allergy. And so there is an actual algorithm for checking for food allergies. I have a whole dedicated video for that. So before you comment to me that your pet has a chicken allergy, if you did not follow that algorithm, you may be misdiagnosing or have had your pet misdiagnosed, especially if you did not do a food trial or if it was diagnosed with a food allergy based on a blood allergy test, okay? Blood allergy tests for food are bogus. If you have done one, I am sorry, you got scammed. There are a lot of veterinarians that get scammed because these companies convince them, but there is too much cross-reactivity and there are lots and lots and lots and lots of false positives, okay? And so think about a false positive in the case of a disease. I'll just use rabies, okay, because I'm a veterinarian, okay? So let's say you were sick and you went to the doctor and they ran a crappy test on you and where there were a lot of false positives and they told you you had rabies. How would that make you feel? It would make you feel crappy. And because there are so many false positives, there is a likely chance that that is not real. You went through all that stress and all that angst and all that anxiety for no reason because it was a crappy test. Same thing with food blood allergy tests. You put yourself through all this angst and all this anxiety from a crappy test that has a lot of false positives where the result that you get is crap. So yeah, if you are watching this and you're saying, well, I can't feed the chicken because my pet has a chicken allergy, my question to you is, how is that chicken allergy diagnosed if it was not diagnosed with a 12-week food trial with a prescription food trial diet? You may have been subject to a crappy diagnosis from a crappy test. All right, off the tangent, and let's get into the nutrient profile here. Sorry, on the next one, which is going to be the turducken, another poultry variety. This is a grain-free food, so we already know we are going to lose some points there and setting us up for questionable nutritiousness, but they are going to get a point because it was cooked. Protein again, super high, so this is going to be not my favorite. Fat even higher. I would absolutely 33% fat. If you have a pet that has pancreatitis, actually any pet can have pancreatitis issues. This 33% fat is pretty darn high. They're not going to get any points there. I'm sorry, this is not looking like my favorite. 20 pound, again, the 12 ounces at 36, that is going to be correct, so you're going to get a point there. Although I can already tell you this is not going to be my favorite. Like if this was me going through this food personally, I would already have disqualified it because of the grain-free and the macronutrients being so far off. And calcium and phosphorus are so far off too, because as you get to that 50 level on the protein, really difficult to meter that. So this is going to score, well below a 5. So of the options for you guys, because you guys are always asking for fresh options, I would say if you're going to feed A Pup Above and you really are interested in doing a fresh option, I would stick with the chicken. That's my opinion. I hope you guys found this video useful, and I am talking about nutrients as far as optimal nutrients, optimization of nutrients based on the stats. Every dog is different, every person is different. So take this information and discuss it with your personal veterinarian so that you guys can pick a food that is appropriate for you, your lifestyle, and your pet's needs.